I'm Martyn Thompson. I'm an artist. I have worked with a variety of mediums, and I began my working life working with clothes, designing clothes, and became a fashion photographer. And fashion photography led into sort of lifestyle photography and then sort of more experimental photography. And which then sort of came back into design. And I started using my photographs as sort of the basis and inspiration for textiles and I work with ceramics, and I've extended that out of photography into a broader design vision. Looking at the elements that often define my photography, which were sort of painterly quality, a tactile quality, quite a specific view of color. Curiously, I'm colorblind, and I always wondered whether that is part of the why I see color in a certain way for me. As a photographer, I began working with photography in a fashion context, and that sort of developed into a lifestyle context. I think something that people think I've always said I'm good at is making something ordinary look special. And in this work, I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of great people in this field, in the field of design and interiors. I worked a lot with Ilse Crawford, who was, a great inspiration, and I did a couple of books with her, a book called Sense Your Home and a book called Home is Where the Heart Is. I worked with some wonderful brands like Hermes and Gucci and Tiffany and Ralph Lauren, and also with a lot of great magazines, Elle Decoration, Architectural Digest, New York Times, Vogue magazine, W magazine. Yeah, I met Luigi and the team at Fabscarte during the Milan Design Fair in 2016. I was at the Ladies and Gentlemen exhibition that was organized by Federica Sala, and we started talking, and I had some of my textiles with me, which she saw, and she thought she was looking for people to work with Fabscarte as a sort of, in a collaborative sense. And she thought what I was doing with my fabrics was a nice mix with what they were doing with their wall coverings. And anyway, she organized a meeting, and we met, and I brought some fabrics, and I brought some of my sort of the inspirations that go with the fabrics, and we had a very simpatico meeting, and I like very much what they do and how they work in such a tactile way and such a sort of original way. They approach things from a very individualistic point of view, and they're not looking to make anything simple. They're happy to make something as complicated as it needs to be in order to be beautiful. I think we both shared this sort of common love of craft and a common love of beauty, and the idea that that beauty is an end in itself. And I was very inspired, by the tactility of their craftsmanship, and this sort of devotion that they have. And I was really honored that they were inspired to work with me. And so we worked on 2 different wallpaper designs. The sort of basic inspiration of the designs are the sort of textiles I was working on at the time, which came from a collection called The Accidental Expressionist, which is part of sort of what I've come to see is kind of the basis of all artistry for me, is often founded in this notion of the accident, that as soon as you're too conscious of creating, it doesn't work. You have to be, you have to either create an accident, or you really have to look at what you're discarding in order to find what you need. Anyway, they after our first meeting, I presented some things, and they worked. They used those as a basis for the 2 wallpapers, ultimately, that were named Rose Scented Mirage and Midnight Moon Dust. And yeah, I think they were a great success. I really enjoyed the collaboration. I was excited to work with Fabscarte because they have a very sort of uncompromising position with their work, and they seek to create something beautiful, and they disregard the commercial in that pursuit. I think ultimately we all hope that something is commercially successful, but I don't think if you ever start from that perspective that anything works. And I loved the fact their very passion-driven approach to creating work. And I felt that when I look at the things that I've done that I love the most, it's where I have a very passion-driven approach to that work, and where I'm just seeking to create something that is beautiful. I was also very excited by the nature of our collaboration, that I wasn't giving them a design, I was just showing them some design things that I'd done, and then they were looking at that and being inspired and interpreting it entirely in their own sense. And I loved the kind of looseness of that connection, and that we then just wove it together in discussions about color and color combinations. And I like that there was a lot of freedom in that collaboration. One of the things I'd love to work on more is this work with Fabscarte. I'd love us to make some new colorways with the work that we've done. That would be really nice. I think we have one paper called Midnight Moon Dust, which is really beautiful. I'd love to see that created in in the colors of sunshine. Sydney's very sunny. I'm just become obsessed with the sun, and yellow. Currently, I am in sort of a big transitional stage. I have been packing up my studio in New York and re-establishing it in Sydney, in Australia. I'm quite focused at the moment on looking at, pursuing a more becoming even more of a sort of fine art angle in my work, which, I've been doing over the last sort of decade or so, and I'd like to sort of take that further. Coming back into some more sort of still life photography, and working more with tapestries as sort of murals. Currently, I'm starting to look at sort of ideas for my installation for the London Design Festival for next year. I won't be allowed out of Australia this year, but in 2022, I'll be doing a launch for the new collection I've done with Jo Malone London, who are a company I've done a lot of work with over the years, and we have a range of a new candle design and some product design coming out, yes, in September next year, and we'll launch that during the LDF.